Okay, so right now I'm going to start making my presentation on social cognition and influence by me. Okay, before I start, I would like to say, have you ever thought about why this person is being the way they are? Why are they being this way? For example, like Hitler, why is he such a horrible person and captured all the Jews into concentration camps? Why is he being so horrible? Why is he so evil? And I'm going to explain it. So what is social cognition? And it focuses on the power of the situation. It also examines the way we influence and we relate to one another due to certain conditions. And what does it do to our mental process? It not only do we analyze and interpret it, however, we also, as our own human being, there's a self-concept and a self-esteem. All these social cognition, it affects the way we think about the other person. And we'll talk about impressions later on. So schemas. What are schemas? So for impressions, like I said, or even on this picture right now, if you see on the left, we have the doctor, but on the right, we have a man who's all tatted up with muscle tees, and the whole impression will be on like the opposite of the spectrum, whereas the doctor on the left, he is very knowledgeable, he's very smart, that's why he's a doctor, and he saved lives, whereas the other guy on the right is all tatted up. He maybe look like he's a bike rider, or even he's just like in a gangster group. But these are all first impressions. Maybe the guy who's tatted up appreciate tattoo artworks. That's why he's all tatted up. And then whereas the doctor, the impression of it would be totally opposite. And that's all about first impressions. And lasting impressions is how you want people to think about, or the way you want to be remembered. And so sometimes during speeches, teacher will tell you to be, or no, interviews. People used to say you should make a lasting impression of what makes you special, and make the interviewer, or like university people who actually interviews, and say that like, wow, this student is special and different from the others. That's why they would choose you. However, there is a saying that people always talk about, how like you should not judge a book by its own covers, and the reason why we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover is because our first impression on a cover would be like, oh wow, the cover of the book is about there's a pony on it, so it might be really childish or girly, so I'm not gonna read it. Whereas maybe that pony, the cover of a pony, is actually the book The Catcher in the Rye, when it actually talks about childhood and everything. Moving on, attributions. So Harold Kelly, he made the process of explaining what causes people's behavior and our own behavior. And specifically, he came up with consensus, consistency, and distinctiveness. And specifically, I'm going to talk about each. But before that, external and versus internal. There are two different ways how we interpret impressions. Excuse me. External attributions, aka situational attributions, refers to interpreting an event or behavior as being caused by the situation that the individual is in. For example, that person's personality trait, individual characteristics, emotions, or abilities. And whereas internal attributions, aka dispositional attribution, refers to interpreting an event or behavior as being caused by factors that are related to individual, for example, a social and environment. And specifically, I'll give more examples that are actually based on this. So attributions, consensus. What consensus means, it means which other people's behavior is similar to the actor. So high consensus means For example, if Michael is avoiding Sean, most likely Lucas would do the same too. Internal is because as the environment, internal would be, yeah, like I was previously saying, environment. If Michael is avoiding Sean, Lucas will do the same just like Michael. Whereas low consensus, if everyone liked Michael but Lucas doesn't, it would be more of an internal personal thing, as like Lucas will have like a personal thing with Michael. That's why everyone liked Michael but Lucas doesn't. Consistency. Consistency attributions means which the behavior is always the same across time or situation. And specifically internal and external. If Michael always got invited to Lucas's house, then the consistency will be high. It's because the environment, he might be holding a party, whereas like a class party, Lucas will be invited. However, if Michael got rejected for once, the consistency will be low. And due to why, maybe because Lucas is a party pooper, he always stay on the side. Maybe that's why he just doesn't. That's why Michael would not want to invite. Michael would not be invited to Lucas's house since he's, yeah, a party pooper. Distinctiveness. Distinctive attribution is when the actor's responsive to one another situation is different from other similar situation. I'm sorry. So if Michael favors only Lucas, then the distinctiveness is very low. So as in, it's more of an internal thing. Whereas if Michael favors everyone except Lucas, when the distinctiveness is very high, which is just like the example I gave in the consensus. It might be more of a personal thing. That's why Michael favors everyone except for Lucas. Okay, however, throughout these three different attributions, there will be errors. There will be misleading stuff. So attribution errors. Fundamental attributions. Error internal. Error internal. It would be more based on personality, whereas traits external would be environment. So when, for example, why is Danny such a dork? External explanation is because he's under pressure. Why is he being such because under pressure with schoolwork or everything? Or internal wise, he's a self-involved clueless. However, these would be misleading because you cannot judge a person by their first impressions. You have no idea what they're thinking because they are thinking by themselves unless they say it out. So it's really on external or internal kind of thing. And attitude. Okay, attitude, obviously, it's how the way you respond, the way your emotions, and the way you actually express yourself. So self-perception theory. It means attitude change depends on how one thinks according to the situation. And changing attitudes and is the way a person is communicating the message content and who receives the content. Funny story. I have a friend, Johnny, and his buddy. They were walking on the street one day, and Johnny and his friend, they were fighting. So then they just did not pay attention how they were crossing the street, because obviously when you're supposed to cross the street, you should just go on like where the stripes are. You're not supposed to jaywalk. However, Johnny and his buddy, they were fighting, so obviously they wouldn't pay much attention. So they jaywalked, but unfortunately they got pulled over by a cop, and they were fighting. Their attitude weren't at their best. So Johnny was being very apologetic, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I won't do this again," even though the cop gave them a ticket for jaywalking. However, Johnny's buddy was not happy at all. Since they were fighting, he was really pissed. He's like, Johnny is all calmed down. He knows what he did wrong, whereas Johnny's buddy is totally opposite. So when he was really angry at the cop, why did he get a ticket just by jaywalking? So he kind of fought with the cop, And at the end, the cop is a cop. He ended up writing a ticket just for Johnny's buddy because he wasn't giving the right attitude. So in this example, Johnny's buddy was not he's not receiving the right attitude, whereas Johnny, he knew what he did wrong. He knows that, like, as for right now, I got pulled over, I got a ticket, I'm supposed to be apologetic and just be really sorry of jaywalking, whereas Johnny's buddy is literally the opposite. Yeah. Okay. So here is a diagram of the whole perception pyramid. So the foundation is what we think, what we say, and what we do afterwards, and then at the tip of it will be how we are perceived. And because of this, sometimes people will be saying, "Oh, do you think before you say something?" Because it starts from the bottom and then you go to the top. So not only does it affect the way we think and say, it also affects the other person who's receiving the message exactly the same way. Alright, stereotypes and prejudice. This is very basic. Stereotype, the definition of stereotype, it means false thinking that assume all the people of some group is the same. And prejudice, it's negative or positive attitude towards one group. So for like a very basic example would be like stereotypes, where people will assume that all Asians are good at math, whereas and because of that they may be hating on Asians because they are not good at math and Asians are good, and that would be stereotypes and prejudice. And another example of stereotypes would be all black people likes to play basketball and they're good at playing basketball. And if you're not good at playing basketball and then you just meet a random black guy on a basketball court, you feel like you would want to avoid them because they are really good at basketball and you're not. And the reason why we do have these stereotypes and prejudice is because they're first impressions, as in these are all false thinking. It might be true. It might be that this Asian is really good at math. However, this is a possibility thing because not everyone is the same, and it's just known as that Asians are good at math. However, it's totally false because I'm not good at math. So yeah, these are first impressions. Before you actually go up and talk to this person, stereotypes will be the first thing, and first impression will be the first thing that you'll go through your head and think about this person. It'll be like, oh, this guy is dressing really well, so he might be very smart or something. But maybe he just might be a fashion designer. You never know. Okay, attractions. Robert Sternberg was the one who came up with this, and it's the triangle theory of love. And according to Sternberg, different types of love results when the three basic components in his triangular theory occur in different combination, which is passion, intimacy, and commitment. And this, because of this triangle, it would you will have this actually results in falling in love. When you actually fall into each category, either in passion, intimacy, or commitment, there is a definition in this triangle that could help you to define in what kind of love, basically. Yeah. Okay, so social influences. People's behavior is affected by others' affection or words. It's imitative. And social norms, what people should or should not do in different situations. And based on this, we have role models. Why do we call people that we admire or respect role models? For example, people look up people respect and they look up on Beyonce because she is a role model. She is fearless. She knows what she's doing. She's a feminist and all that kind of stuff. And because of that, people will imitate Beyonce, the way she's doing, the way she's being fearless, the way she's standing up for people. People will imitate the way she does. And because of what the role model says, her fans would actually do whatever she says, and this results in people's behavior is affected by others' action or words. Conformity and compliance. It means changing people's behavior to be the same as the others. Group pressure. People change their own behavior due to request, explicit asking a favor, implicit I to ask a favor. For example, when we have group discussions, everyone has to participate. Whereas, because people would have to participate in order to actually be a teamwork. And on the other hand, you could think as if changing their behavior just to ask a favor. For example, there's this bully, and you're really good at fixing computers, and there's this bully. He has been bullied over a period of time. However, his computer broke down, and normally he would be bullying at you. He would be pushing you around, just doing really bad things to you. However, today his computer broke down, and then he needs someone to fix his computer in order for him to play his computer games. And for today, he would change his behavior and be really nice to you and ask a favor if you could fix his computer for him. And that would be changing people's behavior to the same as the others. And change their behavior due to a request. Obedience. Change one's behavior due to a demand from an authority. One can be pressured by the other and by their demand to switch their behavior. And people will stop to harm others if they see others start to harm others too. And this is just like authority. It could be your parents saying that the way you're doing the dishes is wrong. You should be drying them out first before you put them into the cupboard. And if it's someone who you respect and it's an authority, you will listen to them because they are superior. And one can be pressured by the other by their demand to switch behavior. It's just if you're in trouble and if the principal is really mad at you, you are pressured and you are punished in order to change a behavior because it was the wrong behavior. It's just like training a dog. The owner is the authority, the superior, whereas the dog would obviously change their behavior and pot training, and they will not pee and poo in the house, whereas they will learn to actually pee and poo outside during the walks because the owner, superior, is training them to change their behavior. Aggression. So one act intentionally to harm the other and copying what the adults do, or cultural differences, learning differences. So basically what this is saying is that learning is really easy. If you copy someone, for example, if you look up to this guy in school, and he's very popular in school, and he's known for being the leader of he's the most popular guy in school. He's all the leaders. He's in all the leader positions in school and all kind of stuff. And people look up to him. It's just like what I was saying to role models. And people would imitate. People would copy what he does. And because of this, people would harm others just because that person did it, because the most popular guy in school did it and he did not get caught, so why can't I do it? And this would be very different based on cultural differences and the way we learn about the differences about learning. As in cultural, we could say that in Middle East, people harm for ISIS. It's a very harmful group that actually just kill people whenever they see. And the way they if they don't go to school, they are not they won't be taught on what is moral and what is immoral, basically. And this is really all cultural difference, and this actually just goes on to are do you come from like a very developed country or like underdeveloped country? It's just all very based on learning, school, and what you're taught, and your culture, what your culture teaches you. And prosocial behavior, helping behavior, one act to benefit the other. So, and specifically, there are altruism, being unselfish, whereas arousal, cost reward theory. And people help others to reduce the feeling that they see from others' face of suffer. So, being altruism, unselfish, as in people would be like, oh, when you see someone fall off the stairs, you would immediately go up and help them up because you're being unselfish. You don't want something. You don't want like a feedback, basically, or you don't want like a reward because you're just doing it because you want to help them. Whereas arousal is totally the opposite. You're doing this because you want a feedback. You want a reward back too. For example, you want to for the best example I can come up with is MUN, as in countries have alliances. For example, during Japan had an earthquake, America donated a lot of money, and Taiwan both donated a lot of money to Japan just to save them from the earthquake, and donate money just to help them get back on their feet and save more people. And however, if this comes to the same exact, if the earthquake happened in America or Taiwan, we would expect Japan to return the favor too. So it's more of a both way thing. If I help you, you're gonna help me sooner or later. Whereas altruism is unselfish. I'm gonna help you, and I don't expect you to help me when something happens. Exactly. And empathy, altruism. Sometimes people help the others and motivated by a desire to improve the other's well-being. Whereas evolutionary, we help the others due to future benefits. Help the others out now, they'll have a higher chance to help you later, which was what I was saying for arousal behavior, which they'll, like the countries, America, Japan, and Japan, America. And cooperation, competition, and conflict. To work together, achieve goals individually, believes that one is their way of achieving certain goals, and social dilemma, a situation where gains a reward for individual, but gains negatively if adopted by everyone. So this is basically how people react when you work together as a team, or do you work individually, because like the results will be very different. Very different. And people would say working by yourself would be faster, it would be more efficient, and the result would be better. Whereas achieving goals individually would be working together. Some others would pull you down because they're not doing their work, or they're just not handing in their work. So as a group, because of this one person, the whole group can't do this. Whereas individually, everything would be very fast because you know what you're doing, you're on top of your game and everything. And social dilemma. People sometimes in school, we do have people that ask if we could work by our own selves, where the whole project is supposed to be partnered up, or even like a teamwork. And without teamwork, you won't achieve as a goal. Obviously, both ways you are gonna achieve the goal, but as a team, you learn more of how to be patient, and how to deal with people. Whereas individually, you just do your own thing and you just get to the goal really fast and get it over with. Group process, task motivated leader, close supervision, and dislike group discussions. So this is just like that person who does not want to work with the team, just want to work by themselves. And relationship motivated leader, it loose supervision, ask for everyone's ideas. This is just like when you work in a team, when you work in a team like a student council or even on a sports team. The captain or like the president will have to ask, what is your idea on this, and they'll give us feedback, and we'll based on that we will make a decision. So it's more like a democracy, that kind of thing, whereas democracy kind of vote. But yeah, you ask for everyone's ideas, you ask for everyone's opinions, their votes. The result will be based on those. And groupthink, thinking pattern where group members fail to evaluate decisions. So this is just like 12th graders. Our 12th graders who doesn't really care, or they just don't make up a decision because no one really cares. They just kind of whatever. It's basically the thinking pattern that like there isn't really a result because it fails to have a result because you don't have a group that actually tries to come up with decisions, whereas our group is not giving any thoughts or not giving any caring to it. Thank you. So I hope you do understand that social psychology is based on how you get feedback and how you think of a person. The first thing, what you think about the person and how you feedback and how you communicate with that person, attitude, first impressions, the way you behave because of a superiority, or the way you behave as a group or individually. All right, thank you.